Hey, what's up, Brew Crew? Today we're going to be taking a look at beer and bread. Beer and Bread is a two-player game that has players competing to make the best, well, beer and bread. Let's go through a quick overview of the gameplay. Then we'll come back up and I'll let you know what I think. Beer and Bread is played over the course of 6 rounds, or years as they're referred to in this game. Each round you'll be alternating between fruitful years and dry years, and each year will play a little bit differently. Players will each use one side of the game board, and each side will have a brewery, a bakery, and a storage unit. Each side of the board also shows spaces for the players to slot upgrades for each of the different actions or phases during the game. Finally, the board has fields and a river to hold the resources. The number of resources available in each of the rounds is determined by whether or not it is a fruitful year or a dry year. During a fruitful year, you will place crops in the field, either wheat, barley, rye, or hops, equal to the number in green. If it's a dry year, you will only fill up the field up to the number shown in red. Or the rulebook says red, but it looks orange to me. Water from the river is consistent and does not change from year to year. The first year and each odd numbered round show that it's a fruitful year. So for this round, you will be dealt 5 cards from a deck, which will contain both beer and bread cards, which you and your opponent will be drafting, starting with the first player, then going back and forth until all cards are played. You'll choose one card from your hand to play for one of 3 different benefits. And then beginning with the second year and each of the even numbered rounds, there will be a dry year in which you will pick up all of the cards played for the harvest ability into your hand and then draw up to 5 cards total. These cards will not be passed, and you will either be playing them straight from your hand or swapping them with a card from an offer off to the side of the board. Just remember that if you do swap with a card from the offer, that card must be played that turn. So that's how each of the 2 different types of rounds will be played. Now let's talk about the different ways in which you can play your cards. First, a card may be played to harvest. In this case, you will lay the card down in front of you and collect the resources pictured on the card. If you've already played a card for harvesting this round, then lay the new card down on top of the previously played card, overlapping it so that the resources of the old card are still showing. Then you'll collect all of the resources shown on the new card, plus extra resources for each time that resource appears on a previous card. So in this case, I would collect 1 hop and 2 barley. All of the resources gathered must be placed on a storage space. If you don't have enough space to store all of the items that you would gather, you may choose from all of the items that you have which ones you're going to keep. However, the items that you decide to remove from your storage unit must first be offered to your opponent. They may either take the resource if they have the storage space for them, or discard them back to the general supply. However, they are not allowed to swap these items for resources that they already have in storage. The second option for playing a card is to play it as an upgrade by slotting it under one of the upgrade spaces on your side of the board. Each upgrade space corresponds to a different aspect of the game and will dictate what the upgrade is and when it is triggered. The sun symbol represents start of year upgrades. The sickle represents harvest upgrades. The bag represents upgrades to your storage unit, usually by providing more storage spaces. The chef's hat represents baking or brewing upgrades. The broom symbol represents cleanup upgrades, which take effect when removing cards from your brewery or bakery. And finally, the coin symbol represents end-of-game scoring bonuses. Anytime that you choose the upgrade action, you will also clean out the cards that are currently in your brewery and bakery. This is important because each space only holds one card without any upgrades. So you'll need to clear those spaces in order to make room for more. The final card play action is the produce and sell action, and this is how you're going to be scoring the bulk of your points. Depending on whether you are brewing beer or baking bread, you'll play a card either to the brewery or the bakery. Then you'll pay the cost in resources from your storage unit. And once all the resources have been paid, flip the card over. This card will stay in place until you've taken an upgrade action and are allowed to clear the cards. Once the last card has been played, that marks the end of the round or year. Look at your storage unit and see who has the least amount of resources in storage. They're going to take the first player token, then move the round marker one space forward on the board. Then we'll fill up fields to the appropriate number of resources, depending on whether it is a fruitful or dry year. Once the final card has been played in the sixth round, you're going to collect all the beer cards and all the bread cards all together in their own separate piles. These include cards both in your bakery as well as any that have been cleared off through the upgrade action. Separately score your beer cards and your bread cards, then any additional scoring for end of game upgrades. Whichever has the lowest total will be your final score, and the player with the lowest score wins. All right, that's a high-level overview of how Beer and Bread plays. Let's head back up, and we'll see what I think of this one. For a relatively small game, Beer and Bread does a lot of things that I really like. For starters, some of my favorite games have multi-use cards. I also love the alternating round structure. During the fruitful years, you'll be drafting cards back and forth with your opponent, not always knowing what will make it back into your hand. In the dry years, you'll have a hand of cards that is all your own to play. It means that you need to switch back and forth between long-term strategic planning and immediate tactical decisions. You also know that if you play a card for its harvest effect during the fruitful year, that you'll have that card available to you again during the following dry season round. This means that you can use the card to gain the resources while simultaneously reserving it for possible recipe fulfillment rather than passing it to your opponent and wondering if it'll ever come back to you. You'll have a limited amount of space for storage, which makes timing very important. And in a cool twist, anything that you're not able to store, you must first offer to your opponent before discarding it. So it's very difficult to save up resources, so you really need to be fulfilling recipes as you go. I think that 6 rounds is about perfect for this game. It's long enough that you'll feel like you've accomplished something, while short enough, especially since you're switching up playstyle every round, that the gameplay doesn't get stale or overstay its welcome. I'm always a little cautious about highest versus lowest scoring. That type of scoring tends to be pretty hit or miss for me, but I did enjoy it in this game. Again, I think because the game length allowed for time to achieve a balance between the two types of goods without getting lost in trying to do too much. You will also need to be okay with a little bit of randomness in this game, as you don't always know if you'll be dealt the beer or bread cards that you need to hit that balance, or to reach your end-of-game scoring objectives. Now, personally, this doesn't bother me, and you'll usually be able to either draft the cards that you need or swap it with one from the offer, but just know that there's a little bit of it there. So overall, we really enjoyed Beer and Bread. I give it a BGG score of 8.5. Have you had a chance to play this one? Let me know what you think in the comments, and until next time, let's get another round for the table. Hey everybody, don't forget to like and comment on this video. If you found value in this video at all, it would mean a lot to us if you consider subscribing to the channel as well. Don't forget to click the notification button so you'll know when we put out a new video. Cheers!